Okay. So how long have you been homeschooling?
5 years.
What made you start homeschooling?
Well, that is an interesting story. I had my mom actually homeschooled my little brother. I had lots of friends that homeschooled, but I just thought that I wasn't organized enough. That it just, I couldn't teach my kids and give them everything that they needed. So I never really seriously considered it, although I knew it was a great thing for my friends that did it. But for us, we were in California. My kids were at a Waldorf charter school. We loved that Waldorf, that Montessori style, learning through exploring and physical activity. And we moved from California back to Utah. And my kids went into the public schools, and my daughter, who was 13, 14 at the time, found just the worst possible friends in the junior high. Came in the middle of the year, so it was about 4 or 5 months of the rest of the year. And during that time, she was lying, sneaking away from school, doing things that we specifically told her not to do, and hiding it. Feeling about her was changing. The way that she looked, her hair was always in her face, and it's hard to explain exactly, but as a parent, you know that thing when your child is changing, their light is not there anymore. And we had, through a whole nother story, moved into a home where there were 3 homeschool families that attended church with us and lived right next to us, and our kids became friends. And all of the moms, independent of each other and not knowing, came up to me and said, "Your kids need to be part of our homeschool group." And I was like, "Oh, I can't do that. I'm not on top of things. I can't do that." And things like that kept happening over the summer. Other things would bring homeschool to my attention. It was like a message that kept, God was trying to get it through my head like 15 different ways over the summer. And finally, he gave me an image in my head where I saw my daughter was at a crossroad, and that this kid was going to go all the way down or all the way up. And it's just who she was. She was just an all or nothing kid. I knew what we were supposed to do, but she was not on board at all. She didn't want to leave her friends. She had tried out for the debate team at the junior high. She was in advanced art classes. All of these things that she was not going to give up by leaving the public school. And so I spent probably the last half of August just researching. My friends gave me all kinds of resources, finding a way to put together a schedule that had all the things that she wanted to have in that schedule, and attend the Commonwealth with the TJ Ed classes. And finally I came to her. I said, "Look, here's all the things you want." Her other friends had been talking to her, and then day before school started, I said, "What if you said a prayer, and then you give me an answer after that, and then we'll do whatever you say. If you'll just promise me that you will say a prayer, and whatever you decide, we'll do." Just knowing that this is what she was supposed to do, but that I couldn't force her to do it. She just, as a person, even a child, that needed to make her own decisions, and once she did, she would stick to them. So, to her very great credit, she did that. And she came down a few hours later down the stairs and said, "Dang it, I'm getting good feelings about homeschool," and went back upstairs. And that was it. I called the school and disenrolled her and my other, her 3 younger sisters. And we started our homeschooling having no idea how to do it. The support of people that were doing it and knowing that no matter what it looked like, it would be okay. That this was the right path for our family. Our friends, the Commonwealth that they had already created, that was already going, uses the Thomas Jefferson education and the Lemmy classes, the Key of Liberty and Sword of Freedom and the other leadership mentoring classes, and that style is part of the Commonwealth. My oldest son was entering high school at that point and decided not to homeschool with us. He wanted to finish the classes that he'd set out and the schedule that he'd made for finishing high school and getting scholarships, and that's what he did. But my 4 daughters have homeschooled. So my oldest 2 children are from a previous marriage, and their dad is a high school teacher, and their stepmom's a junior high teacher. And the whole concept of homeschool, of not following the pattern of public school was just very foreign to them. So after working with my daughter and having her finally decide that this was what she wanted to do, this was the right path, then I got to call up her dad and tell him that this is what we were doing. And he did not take it well. He called several times over the next few days, very upset, telling me I was ruining her life. I was going to ruin all her social skills. The list goes on and on. She wasn't going to be able to go to college. She couldn't get jobs. She couldn't do anything basically in her life because I was taking her out of school. In my case, I've tried to work with him and tried to keep that, the relationship good for my kids' sake, because they go and visit him on the weekends, and because I want them to be able to have a relationship with him, a good relationship, because that is their dad. In this case, we had both decided that this is what she needed to do, and so I just had to restate that I knew this was right for her and that it was going to be okay. Just calmly, not argue with him, not try. I had answers for all the things he had concerns about, and some I didn't. I didn't know all the answers in the beginning. You wonder if you're going to ruin their chances for college, but it doesn't. There's so many opportunities for the kids, and so I just had to calmly keep saying, this is what she needs to do, and this is what we're doing. She's had to deal with his, what would you call it, just putting down the way that she schools and complaining about the way that she schools the rest of her schooling years. And she did decide to get a high school diploma in the end. She did some online classes and got credits for other things to make her dad happy. So that was kind of a compromise that she had to deal with and that she chose to do because he felt so strongly about her getting the diploma, even though there are other ways to go to college.
Are you proud of the way she's handled it?
Oh, absolutely. And I know that the leadership education that she got helped her choose, and the speech and debate classes and other things that she's done helped her choose to deal with it in that way. Helped her see that what she's doing is right for her, and that she doesn't have to be defensive about it. I still had that concern that I would cover all of the things that they would have covered if they were in public school. The longer that we homeschooled, the more I let go of that, because I saw that through the classics and through the mentoring and the other ways that they were learning, they were getting all of that. they were getting the literature and the history all at the same time through the classics. We did a lot of history in the classics. You could stop and talk about, this was going on with this character because of these other things that were going on at that time. I know you can do math in the classics, but I think that one was a little hard to see, and so we've done more of a Montessori learning, hands-on, even online math games. We've used some textbooks for science, some anatomy and physical science textbooks. Kids have done the leadership Shakespeare classes, and they've gone to Shakespeare camps and Shakespeare fairs, and that's been a huge thing to help their brain develop and see words in a different way, and see the characters come together and be able to understand. It's a bit like another language. They have to practice to understand Shakespeare and the way that he brings things together, and they've been able to do that because it's fun, because they're acting and the other kids are acting, and they understand what's going on through the different senses that they're using while they do that. My 15-year-old has done several Shakespeare plays. She's been doing it since she was 11, and has been married to a couple different kids in our group several times. So they joke that they've been married and divorced all these different times. It's awesome when you get a group of parents, moms and dads together. You find that you have different interests, and there are some that are so passionate about history and so passionate about current events, and they've been able to be mentors to my kids in places that I wasn't as passionate about, and I so appreciate that. I think that TJ Ed and leadership, you really, you can do it in your own home, but the community adds so much value if you're able to do it with the community, even online. Different leaders have different things, and then the youth leaders is an amazing part of it. Having the youth be mentors to the younger kids, it helps the youth develop leadership. It helps them learn. It helps them learn how to deal with, with people that you're leading, with their emotions and drama that comes up, and other things with the kids within the group. And the youth mentors learn how to handle that by watching the adult mentors and by figuring it out themselves. I would sign them up for things like, we have a speech and debate mentor. I just signed him up for that class because, I'd met him, and as a parent, we decided that this would be a really good thing for our kids and help them learn to develop seeing all aspects of things, and to verbalize what they want to say. So we just signed them up. But if there was ever a problem with one of the kids in the class, then we would move on and find a different thing. Like, if it just wasn't working, small problems we would resolve. Like, I don't want to go to class today. No, you're going to class. Because once you commit to something, then you keep doing it. And you show up and you do your homework. We started a little bit with the, not the love of learning, but more like the 13, 14, is where we kind of start to introduce that, where you have some accountability for what you choose to take on. And then the older, the 16 to 18, is where they really, choose a whole project. My daughter did the Edison project, where she set goals, and she was accountable to her mentor for what she did to make the goals happen. There was nobody telling her how to do it anymore. She created the ways that she was going to make it happen, and then was accountable for that. Edison was amazing. It's a leadership class for the older kids, and they pray about what they're going to choose for that year. And she wanted to learn how to do hard things, which she'd already done a lot of that. But so her answer for that was to join a Frisbee team. And she had not been on any athletic teams. She didn't really have much of an interest in it, But she joined this ultimate frisbee team where she had to go practice 3 times a week for 3 hours running back and forth on the field. And she became really good. She felt better. She had some health issues where she was tired all the time, and we had tried to figure out what was going on, and she went to stay with some friends to try to recover for a couple months because she just felt so tired and sick all the time. And through this frisbee team, she got energy back.
And she wasn't forced to do it, she chose it.
She chose it
for herself.
Yeah. By them choosing, by them taking ownership of that, is so completely different than a parent saying this is good for you. Just like the rest of us, when someone tells us something that we aren't really choosing, we say, oh yeah, it probably is, and then we go on with our life. They're just like us. Mm-hmm. But when they choose it and they take ownership, and learning to do that as teens and be able to take that into their life is worth anything that they missed in public school curriculum. I have always recognized that my kids are mine, but not really. They're their own person, and they have their own relationship with God, and He has a purpose for them that may not be what I think it should be, and so I've tried to really honor that and let them figure out what that is. Postpartum depression and just depression in general sometimes, one of the most important things is to have a reason to keep going. And it's your kids, and your family and your husband, but it's bigger than that. It's knowing that God has a purpose for you to go out and share with other people, and that it really does matter. And when you do something that really makes a difference, I was just recently, 2 years ago, led to begin school myself, to become a midwife. And it was scary. It was, that's helping people that are in life and death situations, and supporting them and being able to be someone with knowledge that they need at those most vulnerable and critical times. And I've been amazed at how many things I've been able to heal in myself that I wasn't even expecting. By supporting women in that intimate and vulnerable time, physically, supporting their bodies, I've healed my own body image. I don't see bodies anymore. I see the people, and I feel the energies, and just so many things that we don't understand, that as we follow that mission that really is specific for us, those things heal and those things improve, and then we help others heal and help others improve, and our kids, our friends, our community, and it just creates more and more light in the world. We know there is darkness. We know there are horrible things happening to people all over the world, and even in our own communities. But we can do something. We can lead people to good things. We can lead them to learning and growing and better things. And that's what we can do about that. This probably is weird for a homeschool mom to say, that as my kids are getting big and leaving, I wish I spent more time exploring what they loved. Even though I did that, that's the one thing that I wish I spent more time doing, is just being with them as they explored those things, instead of just kind of letting them do it sometimes while I took care of the house or other things. My oldest son is 21, and he did follow his plan of attending high school and completing those classes, and he got a scholarship to college. He went and served people in Mexico for 2 years and came back and is attending college still at home. So that's a whole nother dynamic of teaching and mentoring your kids as they are adults but still figuring out the world. He's just gotten a job and is attending school, and moving on to those, learning how to navigate paying bills and all of the great things that we do. And my daughter, who was the reason that we started homeschooling, just turned 19 and is leaving tomorrow to serve people in Chicago for a year and a half. And really the last couple years especially, she was a mentor for all of the kids in our homeschool group. She was a youth mentor for the Sort of Freedom group. She was a youth mentor for so many things, and all of the kids look up to her. And she just took on her own education really the last couple of years. She just said, this is what I'm going to learn, and this is what I'm going to do, and these are my goals. And I just got to watch. I just got to be there to guide her when she had questions. And now she's choosing what she's going to do with her life and with her time. And she's choosing those things from a perspective of knowing that she has value to go out and give to the world. And that she can go out and learn whatever it is she needs to learn. There's not a fear there of, what if I don't know enough? Because she knows how to go and learn things. My next daughter is 15, and so she's been homeschooling since 5th grade. And she participated in the groups. She did classes at home. We kind of did it a little bit different every year with her. And this year she is attending a kind of a part-time charter school program where they have professors come from the university by our house and teach the kids and have a concurrent enrollment high school courses with the actual university professors. So she has chosen to take that on and to get an associate's degree by the time she graduates high school. And it has not been easy for her going from the different style of TJ Ed and of our homeschool to university professors, and they are expecting a lot of these kids, but they are rising to the challenge. They have study groups every morning. These kids are staying home and, quizzing each other instead of going out to dances when they have a test the next day. They're just taking it on. I feel like the Thomas Jefferson education gave her an advantage because there's not the fear of, the teacher says do it this way and I've got to figure out what the teacher thinks. And, all those things that in public school are created. And there are great teachers in public school too. They're great teachers and mentors lots of places. But she learned how to take on her own learning and that she can do it. This was a girl who didn't think that she was very smart. She loves to sing and dance, but she didn't think that she was good at school. And Shakespeare changed all of that for her. She read the plays, she figured out what they meant. She was writing Shakespeare and leading and directing these plays. And she learned that she could learn. And for her, the physicality of it was a big part, and being able to explore it in her own way. But it totally changed the way that she saw herself, because she had struggled more in the public school than her older brother and sister had. But this gave her the opportunity to see her kind of intelligence and the way that she learns, and now she can take that and apply it to college classes.
Sounds like you're very proud of her.
Yeah. My next daughter is Kira. She's 12. And so she's been homeschooling since 3rd grade. She's been a little bit different. She doesn't like the pressure of the groups as much. She likes to kind of, learn at her own pace. But she also gets distracted, so I've had to help her stay focused on even the things that she wants to learn sometimes. And she's learning how to manage that better. Then my youngest is 9, and she loves challenges. She picks up concepts really easy, and so it's
How long has she been homeschooled?
She started out homeschooling. She's done some other Montessori classes and some other things, trying to keep her busy because she just wants to keep going and learning, and there's been nothing to restrict her and hold her back. So we've just had our biggest challenge finding her more things to do. So my husband was pretty skeptical at first. He didn't think that they would get all of the education, at home and in our Commonwealth. He didn't think that they'd get everything that they would have gotten in public school. And so that was another place where I said, this is what we're going to do, and we'll try it for this year, and we'll see what happens. And every year, we're going to try it and see what happens. But it only took a few months of him being around the groups and the other people that we were interacting with, and then going back and looking at the junior high where they would have gone, where he was going around telling all the parents that they needed to put their kids in our homeschool group. And he even became a mentor this last year for our student council. The greatest blessing is that my kids have had the opportunity to find out what their mission is, to find out that they have value. I think so many kids don't have that. They go to school and they know that grades are important. And friends are important to teenagers and to younger kids always, no matter where they are. But they're different. Their friends have different focus in the TJ Ed and homeschool. Their focus isn't so much on looking a certain way. Their focus is on, ooh, look what I'm accomplishing and look what I'm doing. I've already seen it. I've seen my children change. I saw my daughter come back to life. I saw her light come back out, and I've seen her share that and spread that with all of the other kids younger than her in our family and in our school groups, and in our church. And she needed to take on her own education and her own life in whatever way that was for her, and Thomas Jefferson Education gave us a template for that. And she took it in different ways and did different things, but it gave us a template for her to take on her life and to find her mission.
Who do you think this would work for?
Humans. Every single person has that in them, has that light, has that spark, even if we've forgotten it. Your kids may choose. You may train them and go through the Thomas Jefferson education, and they may say, I want to go to high school and follow this path. And that's okay if they do that. And the fun thing is you can still teach them and mentor them. without them even realizing that you're doing it. That's the great thing about it, is they can attend classes, they can attend a certain style of school if they choose that, and you're still mentoring them. You're still inspiring them by learning, by reading the book and learning the style of mentoring. You have discussions with your kids every week. You sit down and say, what is it that you want to accomplish, and how are you going to do that? And what's going on with this teacher, or with this group of friends, and what can you do about that? And just really inspiring them to take on their own ideas and their own problem solving, no matter what they're doing. It's okay to just jump in and not know what you're doing. It turns out okay. It really does. It's hard to see, it's hard to believe, but if you just start that first step and keep going, you figure it out. And you might miss some things. There are always things that you miss with your kids. There's always, that one time that they fell off a chair when they were a little kid, and you pick them back up. And sometimes they'll fall off the chair in your schooling, and so you pick each other back up and you keep going, and it turns out great.